I'm going to work through problem number 6 because it's a little bit different than the problems we were doing before. Same, sort of same, but a little bit different. Okay, so I'm reading on page 201, number 6. Dan and Dave can work together and paint a house in 4 days. Dan works twice as fast as Dave. Good job, Dan. Hope your quality's good. How long would it take each of them to paint the house alone? Okay, so I'm just going to fill in. I just drew this ahead of time knowing I'm going to need to fill it in. So we have Dan, we have Dave, we have how long it takes them to work together, we have the hours needed, and then we have the part completed in 1 hour. Okay, so what does this problem tell us? Dan and Dave can work together. That's our key word. They can work together and paint a house in 4 days. So we don't know how long it takes for Dan or Dave by themselves to paint a house. That's what we're actually looking for. But we know together from the problem that they can paint it in 4 days. Now, here's the key that's a little bit confusing. It says Dan works twice as fast as Dave. Okay, so Dan is 2 times faster than Dave. So if Dan works at the rate of X, it takes Dave twice as long. It takes him 2 times Dan to complete the painting of the house. Okay, so don't mix it up. Don't say Dan works twice as fast, 2 times X, because then that's going to actually make Dan's rate a whole lot longer than Dave's. Dan works fast. It takes Dave twice as long, 2 times X. So now down here we're going to say, well, how much of the house could they complete in, not 1 hour, it's actually 1 day. How much of the house could they complete painting in 1 day? Well, I don't know, but I know that he could paint 1 over X in a day. Remember, we're just going to take this and put it in the denominator and put a 1 in the numerator. Same thing with Dave. It takes him 1 over 2X. I'm just going to take it and stick it in the denominator. He can paint 2 times X in 1 hour, that portion of the house. And together, if they had 1 hour, they could paint 1/4 of the house in 1 day. I'm just going to take that 4 and stick it in the denominator. Now, I'm just going to say Dan plus Dave equals together. So I'm going to say 1 over X plus 1 over 2X equals 1 over 4. Okay. So you notice when I write these out, I leave myself a little space because I know I'm going to have to do some multiplying to get rid of these silly denominators. So the things I have, the terms in the denominator, I have X, and I have a 2, and I have a 4. So what is the least common multiple between 2 and the 4 and the X? Well, between 2 and the 4, the least common multiple is 4. So, because 2 goes into 4 twice, and 4 goes into 4 once, and then of course this X, he just gets dragged along because he's different. So everybody gets multiplied by the 4X. So now I'm going to do is just go through and I'm going to multiply 4X times the 1 in the numerator. 4X times 1, 4X times 1, and then I'm going to just bring the denominators down. So I have 4X over X plus 4X over 2X equals 4X over 4. And now I can just divide away and cancel out and get rid of these silly denominators. So here I can't cancel out any numbers, but I can get rid of the x's because x over x is 1. So I have 4 plus, well, the x's go away. X over x is 1, and 4 divided by 2 is 2. So I can bring the 2 down, equals 4 divided by 4 is 1. So that goes away, and I'm left with just plain x. 4 plus 2 equals 6. 6 equals x. So, x is what we found. X is the rate of who? X is the rate of Dan. That's how fast, if Dan painted the house all by himself, he could paint the house in 6 days all by himself. And Dave, it takes him twice as long. Dave is 2 times the rate of Dan, equals 12. It takes Dave 12 days to paint the house all by himself. And this is what you're looking for, because the question says, how long would it take each of them to paint the house alone? Dan, 6 days. Dave, twice as long, 12 days. And there you go.